ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is International Master Camila Ciobanu, and today it is my biggest pleasure to comment today's game from the World Chess Championship together with my student David. Hello, David, and welcome to our
Hi,
broadcast.
Cami. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor.
How are you doing?
Doing okay. Doing
Are you
okay.
enjoying the championship so far?
I am. Yeah, I've been trying to follow it. It starts fairly early in the morning in New York, but it's been a lot of fun.
And did you expect the championship to start with 3 draws in a row? Or did you have other expectations?
I thought it. I did think it might, and I'm hoping there's not obviously draws throughout. But I figured at the beginning, probably trying to get to know each other and how they're playing, and
Yeah.
I believe they haven't played a lot of games against each other recently, so I figured this was kind of a learning few games, perhaps.
Yeah, and maybe they are saving the surprises for later, you know.
Right,
So
right, right.
suspense also for the public is growing little by little.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I would hope so.
Okay, so they have already concluded today's game, so the third game of the tournament, rather quickly, I would say. And I would like to see it together with you.
Great.
And so
Thank you.
I'll go directly there. So Jan had white and Magnus had black. They played, where did they play today? Do you remember?
I believe they played Ruy Lopez.
Yeah, that's great. That's right, because even in the first round, they did the same. So the second draw in the Ruy Lopez at the World Chess Championship 2021.
Yes.
So let's see it. Okay, so Jan starts with the Spanish. Okay, bishop b5. I remember in the first game, what happened was Magnus sacrificed the pawn on e5 for the initiative, because then he remained with a pair of bishops, and so black remained with a pair of bishops and some advantage in the development, since white didn't develop the queen side quickly. But in the end, it's been very interesting how black got the pawn back and white had a very weak pawn structure, but in the end they drew. Anyways, let's do this one. Okay, so a4 is attacking the pawn chain, and then they have to complete the development, right? White still needs to develop the minor pieces. Okay, knight to d2 is an interesting move. So developing the knight, white should have, I mean, he's got two choices basically, either on c3 or on d2. Do you think knight d2 is a more flexible
Yeah, so
development?
I was going to ask you. So it's interesting. So a player of my level would probably think to develop to c3 to leave the bishop open to move. Yet that does not seem to be the correct move in this situation. I think and you and I had talked about this a little bit, that perhaps it's also the beginning of a longer knight maneuver to the king side. But also, I would think going to knight to c3 runs the risk uh, of it being just pushed off. Maybe I'm not sure it would be a good move, but would b4 attacking it?
Okay, and
So
you're saying that from d2, do you have in mind any maneuver?
well, from d2, I was thinking you do have the square perhaps on f5 ultimately.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, white has a nice outpost. I mean, yeah, on black has a very weak square on f5. So yeah, maybe from d2, where should it go to in order to get to f5?
Let's go f1,
f1.
e3.
Yeah, e3. E3 is more flexible than g3 because it controls also the central square d5. So what I like about these games is just trying to detect what the weak squares are and see how they are maneuvering their pieces to get there, and so how they are protecting their weaknesses while trying to expose the opponent's weaknesses. So indeed, you're right. The 92 seems to be more flexible due to that maneuver. Okay, rook e8. It looks like black is trying to reorganize a little bit his army. We'll see. Okay, this is a prophylactic move. Because why? Maybe he wants to bring, obviously he wants to bring the bishop back to f8. Who knows, maybe he would like to develop it in fiancetta later on. But do you think white would have an annoying move right now?
Yeah, so I guess white could go, bishop g5. which would
Yeah,
pin the
because
knight.
d5 would pin the knight, exactly. And this is not very comfortable for black, because the knight basically defends a weak square. Yeah, he's defending d5, the central square. So when our knight goes to e3, it doesn't look too good for black,
I see.
to have that square unprotected anyways. So h6 is a prophylactic
But
move.
e7, what about bishop e7? Would white want to potentially exchange the knight there? So for instance, instead of h6, if he made a different move, I'm just, actually, so the bishop is already on e7, is that
Yes,
correct?
he didn't.
Okay.
He's
So
planning to bring the bishop to
I
f8.
see. Okay. I understand now. Okay.
Anyways, maybe even the trade on f6 would be convenient for white, since it gains the central square
Yeah.
on d5. So maybe he's trying to avoid that too.
Sure.
Who knows? Even the knight going to g5 and increasing the pressure there at some point in the game, it's a potential threat.
Sure.
Why allowing it? So yeah, h6 seems like a good move. I can see on lightchess.org that they have some other games played in this. Even Kasparov plays this as white, and Peter Zvidler against Ivan Chuk. I see a game here, and Alexander Grishchuk plays it as white. Good.
And those are all white wins.
Yes, and so we are in a very good company, I would say.
Yes.
Okay. Bishop d2, we will just see the sequence of moves that follows. Can you see, what do you think the purpose of knight e7 would be?
Yeah, well, I think, and again, I'm not sure, but I think one, it does open up the diagonal a bit for the light squared bishop. Perhaps allows, okay. Yeah, and it also protects both actually f5 and d5.
Exactly. It looks like quite a defensive move. Plus, it opens the path to the pawn to advance if it will be needed. Okay, so it looks like.
Would you say it does cramp black's position a little bit, though, in terms of
It looks like, yes, it looks like black does not have that much space, right? So I don't think it's very, very comfortable. It looks like white's pieces are a bit more out there, So we'll see. Now, white is trying to change the character of the position by proposing a pawns trade. So once these pawns get trade, the whole character of the position changes. And okay, so what happens once any pawns are traded? Something opens up, and in this case, what do you think white's advantage is after this trade?
So the semi-open C file.
Yeah, very good. So white has just opened the C file. His knight is closer to the center, and this exposes a weak pawn on C7, we might say, right? Plus, I don't know, it looks fine to bring the knight there and attack the bishop, maybe. And so going inside black's territory little by little and gaining more and more space. So let's see. Oh, it looks like black didn't like that entrance. So he brings the knight back to defend, and also controlling a weak square that has just been created. And it became an outpost for black, the square on d4 in the center, which for now is well defended by the knight. Oh, I have a question for you, David.
Yes.
Do you think black might have some maneuver to try and trade the knight on f3 so that he will gain the whole supremacy of the central square?
Well,
I mean, typically, we see this in other kinds of openings.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. I mean, obviously, I would think that It's premature, I would guess, to move the knight to d4. I was thinking maybe
Yeah,
start pushing the d pawn.
that's interesting. But my question would be, do you think Black has any way, or can he attempt in any way to trade this knight that is defending the central square?
Yeah, I mean the only thing I'm seeing right now is to
In a
push
few moves, like in 3 moves with a maneuver,
Oh, I see.
the knight is on a left square. Yeah.
I guess he could retreat the bishop and then try to get to g4.
Yeah, you see, this
Yeah.
is a maneuver Black might consider, since the bishop is not doing too much on the long diagonal, since it's quite closed. White has a protected pawn on e4, so it could be an interesting idea to remaneuver the bishop and trade the knight on f3, so then he can install the knight in the center. Okay, so let's see. White develops the rook, as you said, on the semi-open file, and Black occupies the a5 square, taking control of the b4 square. Maybe the knight could go there. Who knows?
Is h3 premature in that Black still has to retreat the bishop to c8 first? He could always do it later.
Very well. Yeah, I guess as long as the threat is not there, White maybe should use the time he's got to improve the position of his pieces, orientating them toward a certain attack. Yeah, as soon as the bishop goes to c8, maybe pawn to h3 has a good reason, right? Yeah, very good, very good. So bishop c3, controlling the center. Okay, so, oh, here it is, bishop c8. I was wondering if Black, okay, would have played bishop c8. I'm not sure if White could have done something with a discovered attack, just moving the knight away, because the knight would have remained unprotected. I don't know, just go somewhere. Maybe this? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't do much. Yeah, it's interesting, but maybe it doesn't do too much. Anyway, a5, bishop c3, bishop c8. And White, can you see, he just, instead of playing h3, a prophylactic move, he just breaks the center. So once they trade pieces on d4, that is no longer a weak square for White, so there's no need to defend it anymore. So d4, oh yeah, this is a nice, interesting idea. So whenever you have a weak square, if you just push the pawn on it and make a trade, it's no longer a weak square. Okay, so pawn takes d4, knight takes d4. Okay, knight d4, queen to d4.
Someone there really likes that move.
They really like attacking toward the king.
Yeah.
So I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about this position, or
well, again, what strikes me is White definitely has more space. His minor pieces are certainly better developed. The bishops are both pointing directly at the king side. Seem to be a good battery. Black's bishops, both on the back rank, are not, I mean, I guess they're defending to some extent, but not, they don't seem to be ideally placed. So I'd probably prefer the white side right now.
Yeah, they're very well, very well. Me too. I say me too.
Good. I feel.
Okay, I just see the name of this opening. It's Ruy Lopez Closed Anti-Martial. Interesting, long name.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see how they played without many explanations. Okay, so something changes in the center. Okay, and they are proposing some minor pieces trade. Okay, trade queens. And what happens in the end is we have a much different pawn structure than when we started. And they get into this rook and bishop and pawns endgame. The position is, materially speaking, equal. It looks like white's bishop is more active. Black has a weak pawn on c4 and c6, another one. Okay, black has the rook on the open central file, and white will bring the king in proximity to the center and then try to trade, simplify the position by trading all the rooks. Okay, this is an equal position, even if black has a big defect in the pawn structure. White can't really exploit it because the position of the king is central. And let's see, generally in the end game, how can we try to win? How do we gain advantages? What do you think?
Well, I think two things. One is you're ultimately trying to create a passed pawn.
Wonderful. Okay.
But I was going to say you also really do need to create a way to infiltrate or prevent your opponent from infiltrating. And I think it's difficult in this position.
Okay, very well. Very good point. So how is white going to create a passed pawn? It's not easy. It wouldn't help him much. Even if he pushes the pawn, well, he still has a weak pawn on h3 remaining there. And yeah, white has to pay attention because the black's king is so centralized that if he is exposing too much, he can remain with some weaknesses. So yeah, even infiltrating with a king, he doesn't really have a way. Okay, to infiltrate. These 2 pawns are taking these squares. The other pawns are taking those squares. So through the queen side, it's impossible. Just going like this. Sorry, like this. It's impossible. Through the king side again, it's impossible, and it's impossible to infiltrate in the center. So without the possibility of creating the passed pawn, without the possibility of infiltrating with a king, and even to attack the weak pawns is not helping too much. They can easily be defended. Plus, what is black doing now with his bishop?
Now by attacking the a pawn, now white is in a position where he has to leave his bishop protecting it. So it kind of restricts the bishop movement.
Very well. Yeah. So black activated his bishop, whilst white bishop will have to remain on a passive position, defending the weak pawn on a4. You see how nicely he exposed the weakness? It is blocked, and simply by pushing the pawn to c5. So in a few moves from here, actually, they agreed for a draw. Can you see white is doing the same by pushing h4? Why do you think g5 was an important square to control for white?
Yeah, it was a way, I think, potential way for black to infiltrate into the position.
Exactly. I think so too. So why not just taking away all the possibilities for the king to infiltrate? So after the repetition, they just agreed for the draw because basically a white can't gain any huge advantage from this point.
Right.
So it's basically equal. Okay, did you like this game?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I did have one question, if I could. If we could go back right before the queen exchange, the position you had asked, to me to comment on when the bishops were, nicely placed, is white able to, and or would he want to, not trade the queens to continue the attack on the king side, or is that's just not possible in this position?
Okay, I think that is a very good question. So I think white can't avoid the trade at this point because they have traded knights in such a way that the queens have no way to avoid the exchange. I mean, even if white takes, it will be black to trade queens. So basically, why did he choose to do this? This is very interesting. So after c6, after d5, he pushed the pawn to e5. Well, what are the options? He could move the knight. But then the problem is, it's already late, I think, because black has an intermediate move. For example, white can't infiltrate on the weak square on b6 because of an intermediate move, and white loses the knight. Let's see if you can show us what that is.
I push the c pawn.
Yes, push the c pawn, attack the queen. The queen has to move away, and white loses the knight.
Sure.
Okay, c5. So if the knight goes somewhere else, well, black does the same. And the problem is he will have a passed
Yeah.
pawn quickly in the
Okay.
center, so he gains the advantage from this point on.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, very good question. Very nice remark. Okay, so this is about the game today. They don't look to play very fiercely from the beginning. They are maybe preserving the energy for the best for the last, right? Because there
Yes.
are 14 rounds, if I well remember.
Yes.
And we will be covering other games too. I hope our audience enjoyed our comments and especially the game. And thank you. 1 second. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so we are talking about the World Chess Championship 2021 that's being played in Dubai, right? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. And I cannot wait to talk to you again in our new broadcast. Thank you, David, for your presence today.
Thank you, Cami. No, this was great, and I think your discussion on the weak squares was very pertinent to me. We've covered that in the lessons, and it was really nice to see it illustrated in a game like this. So thank you.
Thank you again so much. And I will talk to you guys very, very soon. We still have many more games to see. All the best and have a wonderful, wonderful day.